Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into something fascinating, the psychology of greatness. And we're not talking about just, luck or raw talent here. We want to dive deep into what genuinely sets the very best apart, what's really going on underneath. So our mission today is to kind of unpack that core psychological architecture, looking at some really compelling source material we've gathered. Okay, let's get started.
Yeah, it's a great topic because it sort of pushes back against this idea that greatness is just for a select few, doesn't it? What's so interesting, I think, is how these mental patterns, they're not fixed. They seem to be things you can actually cultivate. Hopefully this deep dive offers some, real tangible ideas for you to think about for yourself.
Right. I think most of us tend to think, well, greatness is about incredible skill, maybe being in the right place at the right time, opportunity. But what our sources keep pointing to is something more fundamental. It seems rooted in this underlying psychological architecture. Think of it less like, a specific talent and more like the basic operating system of the mind. You see it again and again in high achievers.
Yeah.
We're talking traits like grit, that sticking with itness for long-term goals, even when things get tough, and a really strong sense of identity that lines up with their goals, plus unwavering purpose, amazing emotional control, and that ability to delay gratification.
Yeah.
Consistently. And the key thing is these aren't just gifts you're born with. They seem to be cultivated mental patterns.
Exactly. And what really stands out is that these aren't things you either have or you don't. The material really emphasizes that these are mindsets, strategies, habits, things that can actually be developed, refined even. They kind of form the inner scaffolding, if you will, that lets that exceptional performance emerge. Doesn't really matter where you start.
Okay, so let's start peeling back those layers, this psychological architecture. Our sources seem to agree on 5 sort of foundational traits. Let's start with the first one. Clear vision and purpose.
Right. And this is way more than just like having a goal written down somewhere. People who achieve great things seem to have this almost obsessive clarity about what they want to do, but maybe even more important is the why it matters. And this clarity, it acts like a powerful filter, doesn't it? Helps them ignore distractions that pull other people off course. Purpose becomes a real superpower. You think about someone like Elon Musk, putting aside any opinions, his vision for space, for energy, it's so sharp, it seems to drive almost everything. Or Malala Yousafzai, her purpose for girls' education is like this unshakable compass, gives her incredible strength against, huge challenges. It's not just a goal, it's deeper, a conviction that shapes who they are.
Yeah, that level of conviction, it really makes sense. It's not just a nice to have, it's like essential fuel. Okay, next up, and this one I think hits home for a lot of us, is a high tolerance for discomfort and failure. Because, let's face it, pursuing something great, it's usually not comfortable.
Precisely. Yeah, the path to doing something exceptional, it always involves pushing limits, hitting setbacks, and often failing repeatedly. A lot of people get tripped up here because they see discomfort as a signal to, stop, or maybe think, I'm just not cut out for this.
Yeah.
But these great individuals, they seem to master what you might call the art of productive suffering. They actually lean into the discomfort sometimes. And crucially, they reframe failure. It's not, I'm a failure. It's, okay, this approach didn't work. What did I learn? It's just data. Michael Jordan, right? Everyone knows him. He famously missed thousands of shots, lost hundreds of games. He didn't see those as failures, though. It was feedback, essential for getting better. Same with Thomas Edison and the light bulb, thousands of tries, right? They got that discomfort and failure were just part of the process.
That reframing idea, seeing failure as a step, not an endpoint, that feels like a really subtle but powerful shift. Okay, so what's driving them then? Is it all chasing the external stuff like money or fame?
Well, that might be there, but it's usually not the main thing. The third trait is this really strong internal motivation, intrinsic drive. So yes, external rewards might happen. Maybe they're even nice to have, but the real engine, it comes from inside. It could be the simple joy of getting better at something, that deep satisfaction of cracking a tough problem, or, wanting to create something meaningful. Think about Leonardo da Vinci. His curiosity was just immense. It drove him across so many fields, not really for applause, but just for the thrill of figuring things out. Or picture a scientist working for years on some deep mystery about the universe. Often it's that intellectual puzzle, the satisfaction of the work itself that keeps them going, much more than any public award.
Yeah, that difference between the external and internal drivers, that's really key. Okay, this next one feels super relevant today with all the pressure we face. Emotional regulation under pressure. I'm always amazed by how some people handle intense situations. Like, psychologically, what lets a surgeon stay so focused when, lives are literally on the line?
That's a great question. And it's absolutely critical, isn't it? Greatness often shows up in these high-stakes moments where emotions could just take over.
Yeah.
So the ability to stay calm, stay focused, think strategically when everything's hitting the fan, it's paramount. Our sources suggest these people aren't robots, they're not emotionless, they feel anxiety, fear, frustration, just like us, but they've developed really good strategies for self-regulation. Things like cognitive reappraisal, consciously rethinking a stressful situation, or maybe even quick mindfulness techniques. These let them kind of keep access to their prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part of the brain, even when their emotional brain is sounding the alarms. It's definitely a skill. It takes a lot of practice.
Thinking about it as keeping access to certain brain functions.
Yeah.
That's a really useful way to put it. Hadn't quite framed it like that. Okay, and the fifth trait, which I find just incredibly powerful, growth mindset and identity-based habits.
Yeah, this connects straight to Carol Dweck's work, obviously. Great individuals tend to believe fundamentally that their abilities aren't fixed. They can be developed. Dedication, hard work, that's the key. And crucially, they don't just do things to hit goals. They build habits that reinforce who they want to be. So instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, it's more like they adopt the identity. I am a runner. And then the training, the running, it becomes a natural expression of that identity. Maybe even feels less like effort sometimes. Serena Williams is a great example here. Her identity as this dominant player, it's not just about trophies. It's what fuels the daily grind, the discipline, that competitive fire. They don't just do great things. It's like they see themselves as the kind of person who does those things.
Wow. And what's really striking is how these 5 traits aren't separate boxes, are they? Like having that clear vision probably helps you tolerate the discomfort more.
Yeah.
And your internal drive likely strengthens your emotional control. It's all connected.
Exactly. Like a system. They feed into each other, reinforce each other. You can't really pull them apart completely.
So we've seen these traits in, the greats. But I think a really common question people have is, okay, but what about me? Can I ever be great? We actually got a question like this from Alex recently, and it felt so real. I work really hard, I set goals, but I still feel kind of average. Is greatness possible for me?
Alex, that is such an honest and I think widely felt question. Thank you for asking it. The short answer is an emphatic yes, absolutely you can. Feeling average, that's a really common human thing, especially when we look at the very top performers in any field. But here's the key takeaway, I think. Greatness isn't some exclusive club you're either born into or not. It's a journey. It's a process, right? Continuous growth, refining things, applying these psychological principles we've been talking about. The fact that you're working hard, setting goals, that's huge. You're already on the path. The shift might just be in how you're working and what you're really aiming for deep down. Is it just hard work, or is it smart work that integrates these mindsets? Are the goals just tasks, or are they linked to a deeper why and an identity you're consciously building? It's that shift from just doing things to being the person who does those things. Everyone who achieves something great started somewhere. The difference wasn't usually some magic talent, but more about consistently cultivating these ways of thinking and acting. So yes, absolutely. You can tap into that potential. It starts inside.
That's really encouraging. It makes this whole idea of greatness feel much more accessible. So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired now, thinking, okay, how do I start cultivating this?
Yeah.
We've pulled together what we're calling a greatness audit. Basically 3 mindset shifts you can start playing with today.
Right. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. First, define your why with radical clarity. Don't just stop at the goal itself. Go deeper. Why does this really matter to you? What's the underlying purpose? What kind of impact do you genuinely want to have? Who is it for? Maybe spend some real time with this. Journaling, meditating, talking it through with someone you trust completely. The clearer that why is, the more resilient you'll be when, inevitably, things get tough. It's like your inner compass.
I love that inner compass. Okay, second shift. Embrace discomfort as your teacher. And this isn't about beating yourself up, right? It's about intentional growth.
Exactly. Start small. Maybe there's a task you usually avoid because it feels hard or awkward. Lean into it just a bit. When you feel that resistance, that little voice saying, uh-oh, this is uncomfortable, try telling yourself, okay, this is where the growth happens. And reframe setbacks. They're not failures, remember, they're just data. What can you learn? How can you adjust? Actively look for little opportunities just outside your comfort zone. Then afterwards, actually think about what you learned. It builds that tolerance muscle. Makes you stronger over time.
Build your tolerance muscle.
Nice.
Okay, the third shift, maybe the most transformative one. Act from your desired identity, not just your current self.
This one's powerful. If you aspire to be, say, a great leader, ask yourself in a tricky situation, what would a truly great leader do right now? If you see yourself as a creative person, ask, what does a creative person do consistently every day? Then start doing those things, even tiny actions. They might feel small, insignificant even at first. Don't wait until you feel like a great leader or a great creator to start acting like one. Your actions actually shape your identity over time. Small, consistent, identity-aligned actions, they compound. They create real change.
Act from your desired identity. Wow. That really is a powerful thought to end on. These are really practical ways to think about and start cultivating exceptional performance. Makes the whole idea of greatness feel less intimidating, more doable.
It really is a journey, a continuous process of growth, self-discovery. It's not some fixed destination only a few can reach.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the psychology of greatness. So maybe take a moment to think about what acting from your desired identity could mean for you. And keep cultivating your own greatness, one small, intentional step at a time. Thanks so much for joining us on this exploration today.